Hello world, welcome to the 154th climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is November 19th, 2021. Next week will be November 26th, 2021, and that'll be number 155. This is number 154. So 158 years ago, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech, and let's see if I can get it on the camera here, up at that red building on the corner. He did his last draft of the Gettysburg Address 158 years ago, and then he went up to what is now the Gettysburg National Cemetery and gave the speech of a lifetime, speech of a generation, speech of that defines America back then at least. And it was one of the best speeches ever. It's called the Gettysburg Address. It's named for this town, and it was up at that corner, and that was 158 years ago on this date. So 200 years ago, a woman was born. Her name was Eunice Foote. In 1856, 7 years before the Gettysburg Address, she theorized that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere could affect Earth's temperature. And to come to that conclusion, she used two glass cylinders, one filled with regular air and one filled with carbon dioxide. She used 4 thermometers, 2 in each glass, to check the temperature, and she exposed these 2 jars at the same time to the sun. And she saw that the jar filled with CO2, carbon dioxide, actually got hotter faster, stayed hotter longer than the regular jar filled with air. And she connected the dots, which people can't do nowadays. People can't think their way out of a paper bag. She connected the dots and came up with the theory, and the correct theory, that carbon dioxide can lead to global warming. And people nowadays don't even believe in that little tidbit. And that's why we're in big trouble as to where we are and why we are where we are. So Eunice Foote represents a long line of go-it-alone scientists. Because why is it go alone? Because people don't want to make the hard decisions. People don't want to tell the truth because it's uncomfortable. People just avoid and do political correctness nowadays. Oh, that's too uncomfortable. You can't say such things. It's just not right to say it. So she represents a long line of go-it-alone scientists, activists, and writers, and musicians as well. You have Carl Sagan back in the 1970s and 80s, spoke out about climate change and our place in the world and planet altogether. You had Al Gore, who's a political lightning rod, but shouldn't be, because he started speaking out about climate change back in the 1970s. And he also did a movie in 2008, 2004, I don't know when it was, called Inconvenient Truth. It was really a game changer for the climate change movement. Peter Wadhams is another scientist, took many submarine trips up to the North Pole and with the military, and because they need to know how thick the ice is in the Arctic, and he saw that the Arctic sea ice was disappearing, and he came up with his own theories as to what was going on with the world. You have Paul Beckwith, great scientist and professor up in Canada, Guy McPherson, who tells the truth as it is, and you could look that up on YouTube. You have people that were associated with Extinction Rebellion and still are, Roger Hallam, Gail Bradbrook, Rupert Reed, and others that are involved with Extinction Rebellion and other protest groups. Of course, you have Greta Thunberg and Vanessa Nakate. Greta is from Sweden. She started her protest years ago as a young girl, and now she's 18 years old. And Vanessa Nakate is from Uganda, a great climate change activist. You have Dar Jamal, a great writer, wrote The End of Ice. David Wallace Wells, who wrote Uninhabitable Earth. And then you had singers, many of them from the 1970s, and there aren't any anymore because people are too wrapped up in themselves and the economy and political correctness, and they've lost their edge. But you had John Denver, people like that, writing about Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. Look it up, kind of a good song. So you have these long line of people that go it alone, and then you also have the protesters that are willing to stand out on street corners by themselves for years on end, and might have a family member or two go along with them. And what they're doing is shining the light of the reality of climate change and showing how devastating it can be and reporting about it. What they're doing more importantly, though, is shining light on politicians and showing that they aren't doing their job, or maybe they are doing their job, but we're pointing out that their job is heinous and it's wrong and sinister as to the path they're on. They pointed out that COP26 that was a mission on hell's path And all it was, as Vanessa, or as Greta Thunberg said, was blah, 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 blah. They did a lot of talking, no real action was done. They agreed to meet next year to talk some more. So there's no real desire, because why? Because the public is not doing anything about it. COP26 ended last week, and people don't even know it happened. And worse than that, people aren't doing anything about it, even if they did know what was happening. So yeah, this long line of protesters pointing things out. Then you have what happened this week on last Wednesday, on this 17th of November 2021, and I'm the only one pointing this out, is Joe Biden and his administration, and this goes back on the Democrats' fault here, okay? And the reason why I'm hard on them is because you're better than this, okay? You need to become more worldly. Joe Biden and his administration just auctioned off 80 million acres in the Gulf of Mexico a few days right after the COP26, and excoriating India and China about their coal usage. And then he leases off 80 million acres of land in the Gulf of Mexico for oil and gas exploration. 80 million acres is equal to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Maryland combined in size. This is not a president who is going for fixing the world concerning climate change. Yeah, they'll put a bill up and throw in $500 billion towards that, and then they'll waste all that money by going and doing stupid things like this. This is evil and sinister. No media reports. Why? Because they're aligned with certain parties on both sides, and it's a political game as to what's going on and about making money. No politicians are pointing out the heinous thing that has just been done. This has been the largest sale of land, or leased land, in the history of the United States. Okay, this is gigantic, 80 million acres. So what happens is that when you get the Bidens in, or the Trumps, or the Obamas, or whatever, and they turn a blind eyes to the heinous stuff that's being done. So as I pointed out in the last episode, Trump did heinous things against the environment, horrible, horrible things. Obama did more gas and oil exploration and drilling in the United States than any previous president, as far as that goes. And they laid enough pipe, he and Joe Biden laid enough pipe, he bragged about it in Cushing, Oklahoma in 2012. Look it up on YouTube. And he said they laid enough pipe around the United States to go around the whole world. Okay, so these presidents are just doing heinous things while professing other things. So it's talk on one hand, but underhanded action underneath it all, what's going on. So what happens is that any party that's in charge, the people of that party allow these presidents to get away with whatever. And you do that also around the world. You allow your politicians to get away with things. Boris Johnson says blah, 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 blah. And then meanwhile, they're authorizing the Cumbria coal mine in the United Kingdom. Every politician is doing this. China, horrendous with coal. The Indian premier president is saying by 2070 they're going to think about stopping coal altogether. Well, whoop-de-ding-dong. I mean, that's 50 years from now. You look back 50 years as to how far the world has changed, and you got this going on saying, 50 years we're going to do something. That means they're not going to be around. It's not my problem, and I don't care about you. Okay, if people would just wake up, and especially Americans who are just totally unaware and don't want to be aware and are sleepwalking through life, these people would not get away with these crimes against humanity. COP26, which was a climate change get together in the Chautauqua, talk, the blah, 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 would not have failed. People would have been up in arms and saying, you can't leave, you're going to have to stay there till you guys make some sort of arrangement to save our very lives. And I'm not kidding, this is coming around very, very soon now. We're talking 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, at the most by 2030. We're going to see horrendous effects around the world as a result of this failed thing going on at this last conference. Politicians would not be able to get away with these sinister and heinous actions and crimes against humanity if people would just wake up, educate themselves. Okay, so what can you do? You can educate yourselves, post what's going on, talk about it on the internet. Okay, just don't think it inside your own head. Actually do something about it. The biggest thing you can do is actually get out and protest. I'm going to do this by myself. Tanya comes out with me occasionally. And you need to get out on the street, be uncomfortable, and make people aware that something terrible is going on. And yeah, people will yell at you. You know why? Because everyone likes their cushy life, likes their little air conditioners or their heaters and their giant cars, and being forced to drive to work and transporting in trucks and things like that. and they're complaining about the cost of gas has gone up, whatever, 30% in the last year. The true cost of gasoline, and I posted this, and I don't have it written down, and I didn't think this out ahead of time. But if you look at the true cost of gasoline, okay, you got the extraction process. You got the extraction process, for example, over in Saudi Arabia. And then you involve the military. So you got aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines to protect that, supposedly protect it against the evil forces of someone who might terrorize it and blow it up. So you're talking billions of dollars. You got subsidies, you got pipelines, you got people dying as a result of military action. You got all sorts of stuff going on. So there's a horrendous cost for us to drive down the street in our little old cars and go to work. So yeah, don't tell me that $3.50 for a gallon of gasoline, which is cheaper than water, is too high of a price to pay. In reality, it should be like $50 a gallon, if at all, and we shouldn't be using it at all. And we should have other means of transportation. We got a giant yellow ball in the sky that comes up every day. It seems to arrive every day. And we could be using that, and we're not. And we could be using that in different means. And also, all these billions and trillions of dollars we give to the fossil fuel industry, we could employ scientists that actually want to come up with solutions and actually think of solutions as to how to get out of this, and don't necessarily involve solar panels and windmills and things like that. Tesla invented the Tesla Tower, which was a free transmission of electricity throughout the world, and all you needed was a receiver on the other end, and you could receive electricity that way. There are many, many things that we don't even know about that people could think about and scientists could develop to help us out with this situation and get off fossil fuels altogether. But we're not going to do it, because where's the money in that? You have free electricity. Oh my God, where's the free money? Where's the money in that and giving something away for free? So here we are. There's no political will. People are sitting at home not doing anything, and we're not going to budge, and we're all going to be suffering extreme consequences. I figure by 2023, which is 2 years from now, or a year from now, a year and a half from now, and we're going to be suffering the consequences of climate change. Many people are already. So, and then the extreme circumstances will be going on by 2026, 2030, give or take. I don't know, but it's not going in the right direction. Nothing is being done correctly, and they'll toss 500 billion here, 500 billion here, and it's all nice actions. It's too little and it's too late, and they need to do something more extreme, and we're not going to do it. So I'll see you next week. This protest number 155. Please do something. Don't sleepwalk your way through life. Okay, wake up, educate yourself, get out and protest, talk with your family and friends about what's going on, post things on the internet, and get out and protest. So I'll go out there and stand, and hopefully this will wake up a few people. One person would be great, okay? And if someone's willing to go out there and stand and start doing something themselves, please post it and say, hey, I'm going out today and actually doing something. So I'll see you next week. That'll be number 155, and that'll be on November 26th. See you later.